and when they are vaccinated. By mid-April 2021, more than 295,623 health workers had been vaccinated under the Sisonke vaccination program. And also, Cabinet was briefed on the vaccination rollout program, and Cabinet welcomed the progress in the signing of the contract with J&J on the procurement of the J&J vaccines for the full rollout program, which will commence on the 17th of May, and we're still on track for that commencement, and commended the Minister of Health, Dr. Zwelini Mkhize, and the Minister of Trade and Industry and Competition, Mr. Ibrahim Patel, for resolving the outstanding matters related to the procurement of the vaccines without compromising the position of South Africa. Furthermore, Cabinet welcomed the successful negotiation of an additional 10 million doses of the Pfizer vaccine, which brings the total doses of Pfizer vaccines to 30 million. This means South Africa will be able to vaccinate 15 million people with the Pfizer vaccine instead of just 10 million that we had initially planned. And to prepare for phase 2 of the vaccination program, which will start on the 17th of May 2021, as I've already indicated, Cabinet encourages the people over 60 years of age, of 60 years and older, to register on the electronic vaccination data system, and on it's found on the handle https://vaccine.enroll.health.gov.za. People without access to the internet can register in person at over 3,338 vaccination sites across the country. This is an increase from the initial 2,038 vaccine rollout sites. And mobile teams will also be deployed to assist the elderly, the homeless, and people living in rural areas to register in the vaccination data system. Cabinet also received an update on the COVID-19 infections across the country and commended South Africans for their continued adherence to the non-pharmaceutical health protocols of wearing a mask when in public spaces, maintaining social distance of about 1.5 meters, and always washing hands with soap and water or using a 70% alcohol-based hand sanitizer. We urge our communities to continue to adhere to these health protocols. However, the report also indicated a slight increase of 4.9% in persons testing positive in the past 14 days by 18 April 2021. The cases increased from 14,113 in the preceding 14 days to 14,807 of cases in the last 14 days. The slight increase in cases is attributed to cluster resurgences in the Free State and Northern Cape, and rapid response teams have been activated to conduct contact tracing. On economic recovery, Cabinet welcomed the 2021 annual Front Office Business Process Outsourcing Omnibus Survey, which ranks South Africa first in the world as a destination of business process outsourcing. The survey extended to over 600 executives from 8 key source markets, including Australia, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, and the United Kingdom and the USA. This affirms the proactive work of government and the sector in building the country's BPO capacity, with a strong growth in call centers, technical support, and back and front office services for major multinational and South African firms. The country's sophisticated digital infrastructure, skilled workforce, knowledge in technology and financial services, and proficiency in English continue to make it an attractive destination for BPO. Cabinet is also pleased that a number of government interventions to stimulate the participation of more South Africans in the economy, particularly young people, are starting to yield results. The presidential employment stimulus that was launched in October 2020 to respond to the economic impact of COVID-19 created or retained 360,010 jobs by end of February 2021, mostly for unemployed youth. In addition, the employment stimulus has supported the livelihoods of over 60,539 beneficiaries through the transfer of support, including production vouchers for subsistence farmers. Over 300,000 of these opportunities came from placing young people as assistants in schools across the country through the Basic Education Employment Initiative. These school assistants have played an important role in strengthening the learning environment at schools during this difficult period. On infrastructure development, Cabinet appreciated the progress made in enhancing the efficiency and competitiveness of the Port of Durban that has resulted in significant reduction of congestion and improved turnaround at that port. His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa visited the Port of Durban on Thursday, 15th April 2021, to assess progress with the port infrastructure improvement following his meeting with port users and stakeholders in October 2019, where they complained about the congestion at the port and the very delayed turnaround times with their goods that are received at the port. Improving the performance of South Africa's ports, particularly of the Durban port, is central to government's objective of maintaining South Africa's position amongst the largest and most efficient trading ports and strengthening our position as the gateway for the region and the continent. Cabinet also welcomed the report from an oversight visit to the Saldanha Bay Harbour in the Western Cape by the Minister for Public Works and Infrastructure, Minister Patricia de Lille, along with Deputy Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, Deputy Minister Noxolo Kivit, and Dr. Hossein Tsuramukhupa, Head of Investment and Infrastructure in the Presidency, on Tuesday, 6 April 2021. The Small Harbours Repairs and Maintenance Program, which is a strategic integrated project as part of the Infrastructure Investment Plan approved by Cabinet in May 2020, is currently 77% complete. It has created a total of 611 job opportunities, and various local, small, medium and micro enterprise businesses have benefited to the value of 55 million rands, and the project is expected to be completed in March 2022. Cabinet also was briefed on monthly statistical reports of the Stats SA. Stats SA continues to release a number of monthly reports on the performance of various sectors of the economy. Although some sectors continue to battle with the recovery, the resilience of the agriculture, manufacturing and mining industries continue to inspire confidence in the recovery of South African economy. Cabinet is pleased that the implementation of the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan is making noticeable impact in South Africa's economic recovery. On bullying at schools, Cabinet expressed concern about the prevalence of bullying in our schools, which included the recent incidences at Mbiru Secondary School in Thohoyandou, Limpopo, and Dwindwini High School in Germiston, Gauteng, and Matole High School in KwaZulu-Natal. Cabinet was saddened by the death of Rufuno Mabunga, who was 15 years of age, from Mbiru Secondary School in Thohoyandou, Limpopo, and conveyed its condolences to the Mabunga family and the friends of the late Rufuno. Cabinet called on authorities to speedily investigate the matter and ensure effective justice for Rufuno and all the other bullied children. Cabinet urged education stakeholders, including parents and guardians, to unite against bullying to create an environment that is conducive to learning. It is the responsibility of each one of us to speak up and report incidents of bullying to the relevant authorities, particularly where the victims are unable or afraid to do so. On hate crimes, Cabinet strongly condemned the recent rise of LGBTIQ+ hate crimes that resulted in the deaths of Andile Ntutela, Spamandla Khoza, and Nathaniel Mbele. And we extend our condolences to their families. The Bill of Rights enshrined in the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa of 1996 calls on us to respect the rights of all members of society without any form of discrimination. These heinous crimes and acts of harassment have no place in our democracy and must be condemned in the strongest possible terms by all of us. Cabinet called on anyone who may assist with the arrest and prosecution of the perpetrators of these crimes to contact the police through the toll-free number 10111 or visit the nearest police station. On African swine fever and avian influenza, Cabinet noted the outbreak of African swine fever on a farm in Potchefstroom in Northwest, as well as avian influenza, the bird flu, on a commercial farm in the East Rand in Gauteng. The Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development and other relevant stakeholders have promptly stepped up security measures and imposed a quarantine in the affected areas. African swine fever is a contagious disease that only affects domestic and wild pigs. Avian influenza affects poultry and cannot be transmitted to humans. On the fires that have recently broken out, Cabinet applauded the efforts of rescue personnel and firefighters who bravely worked around the clock to contain fires in Cape Town and at Charlotte Maxeke Academic Hospital in Johannesburg recently. The Cape Town fires have destroyed historic buildings, while the fire at Charlotte Maxeke Academic Hospital necessitated the transfer of more than 400 patients to other hospitals. Cabinet wished those injured in the fires a speedy recovery, and investigations to determine the cause of these fires have already started. On the Mozambican conflict, Cabinet welcomed the efforts of the South African Development Community, SADC, to bring about lasting peace and security, as well as reconciliation and development in the Republic of Mozambique. An extraordinary double troika summit of heads of state and government of the SADC was held on Thursday, 8th April 2021 in Maputo, directed an immediate technical deployment to Mozambique. Cabinet is also satisfied that South African citizens in Mozambique have been offered consular assistance through the Department of International Relations and Cooperation's 24-hour consular command center. A number of South African nationals have returned, while others have been moved to safe areas in Mozambique. On the senseless killing of the Coca brothers, Cabinet condemned the recent senseless killing of two brothers, Zenzele and Amos Coca, on a farm in Mpumalanga. The siblings were part of a group of farm dwellers seeking employment as seasonal farm workers. Cabinet commended police for the quick response in arresting the alleged offenders, who have since appeared in the Piet Retief Magistrate Court. Cabinet called for calm in the community to allow justice to take its course and to ensure that those found guilty face the full might of the law. A resolution of the protest in Cape Town, the long-standing protest by foreign nationals. The Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, briefed Cabinet on the progress made by the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees to resolve the issue relating to the protesters in Cape Town, who are mainly citizens from the Democratic Republic of Congo. The protesters were temporarily sheltered in Paint City and Wingfield in Cape Town under the COVID-19 National State of Disaster regulations. The UNHCR offered to help all protesters to resettle in communities in and around Cape Town. The International Organization for Migration also offered those who wish to return through their country of origin a plane ticket to travel home. Cabinet welcomes this generous and reasonable offer and urges the protesters to accept the offer within the stipulated 2 weeks. And we are anticipating that there may be resistance, but law enforcement will have to take its course because law and order must be observed in the country. On Cabinet decisions, Green Paper on Marriages, Cabinet approved the publication of the Green Paper on Marriages for public consultation. The Green Paper seeks to work towards the development of a new single marriage bill. It also aligns the marriage regime with the constitutional principle of equality. The paper makes proposals on unions of people from all sexual orientations, religious orientations, and cultural persuasions. It also proposes the complete removal of child marriages in our future marriage regime. Cabinet approved the Tourism Sector Recovery Plan. The plan represents the collective response by government and the tourism sector to the devastation caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. The draft plan was released for public consultation in August 2020. The plan proposes 7 strategic interventions, which include stimulating domestic demand, launching investment and resource mobilization programs, and regional tourism integration. The proposed interventions are also aligned to the country's economic reconstruction and recovery plan. The objective of this plan is to preserve jobs and livelihoods and create new job opportunities. The plan will also strengthen transformational interventions in the sector and drive empowerment of women, youth, and people with disabilities in the sector. The Minister Mamuluko Kupai-Ngubane launched this tourism recovery plan together with the tourism sector earlier this morning. Cabinet approved the submission of the report on the performance of Research and Development Tax Incentive Program for 2018-19 to Parliament as required by Section 11D of the Income Tax Act of 1962, Act number 58. The tax incentive program was introduced to help the country achieve about 1% of gross domestic product target on R&D expenditure by 2024. The report will be available to the public once it has gone through the necessary parliamentary processes. Cabinet also approved the establishment of the Norfolk Compensation Fund. The fund's establishment is in line with the contractual agreements entered into with the pharmaceutical companies that will be supplying South Africa with the COVID-19 vaccines. The fund is also important for the protection of South Africans who may be affected by side effects of vaccines to access better support and treatment. The fund will be established through the amendments of Section 27 of the Disaster Management Act of 2002, Act number 57, and it will be chaired by a retired judge. Cabinet also approved the report of the High-Level Panel on Wildlife Management, which was established by the Ministry of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment to review policies, legislation and practices on matters related to management, breeding, hunting, trade and handling, and welfare and well-being of the country's endangered wildlife species. These include elephant, lion, leopard and the rhinoceros. The Ministry is expected to release the recommendations of the panel for implementation and necessary consultations. On the bills, Cabinet approved the submission of the Criminal Procedure Amendment Bill to Parliament. The bill amends Section 154, subsection 3 of the Criminal Procedure Act of 1977, Act number 51, which a Constitutional Court judgment found to be failing to protect the identity of child victims of crime in criminal proceedings. The current clause protects the identity of child offenders, victims and witnesses against the harmful effect of the publication of their involvement in criminal proceedings up to the age of 18 years. The proposed amendments prohibit the publication of any information which reveals or may reveal the identity of an accused or a witness who is or was under the age of 18 at the time of the alleged offense. Publication may only be done after it has been authorized by the judicial officer or presiding judge. In terms of upcoming events, this year's Freedom Month is being celebrated under the theme, The Year of Charlotte Maxeke, the meaning of freedom under COVID-19. Cabinet calls on everyone to use the Freedom Month, which is the month of April, and Freedom Day celebrations to continue to fight the virus while striving for greater inclusion and social cohesion. We all have the responsibility to use our democracy and freedom to work together and unite around a common agenda to build a united and prosperous South Africa. This year's celebration will adopt a hybrid model with the national celebration to be hosted in the Free State. And again, the hosting of a physical meeting also marks part of the transition to the new normal of the country. Also, the Well Book Day, also known as the International Day of the Book, is marked annually on the 23rd of April. This day is used to encourage people to embrace books and help establish a better reading culture. Cabinet calls on South Africans to support the culture of reading and incorporate it into their daily lifestyles. Reading is a foundational skill on which all learning is built, and it creates the opportunity for access to career opportunities. On messages of condolences, Cabinet expressed its condolences to the family and friends of Dr. Sindisiwe van Zyl, the much-loved medical doctor and Kaya FM host who touched the lives of countless people and contributed immensely to the health and well-being of the nation. Cabinet wished to express its condolences to the family and friends of the families and friends of Vukosi Ringani, Ntlaluko Maluleke, Freedom Ritlafu, Obri Chauke, Themba Nyambi, and Tommy Maspenda, the 6 pupils from the Jim Chabani Secondary School in Bembe District, Limpopo, who died when a buggy they were traveling in crashed into a house. And also expresses its condolences to His Royal Highness Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, and the husband to Queen Elizabeth II of the United Kingdom. And extends its condolences to the Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa on the passing away of his son-in-law, Mr. Bekizizwe Vusumuzi Mpila. And also express the condolences on the passing away of President Idris Deby Itno of the Republic of Chad, and Cabinet condemned the violence that has claimed so many lives in Chad, including that of President Deby, who succumbed to injuries he sustained while leading his military forces against rebel attacks. And the passing on and the continued violence or fights in Chad undermines the commitment of the African Union of silencing the guns as part of rebuilding the African continent and developing our prosperous continent. On appointments, all appointments are subject to verification of qualifications and the relevant clearances. The first appointments are for the Board of Directors of the Unemployment Insurance Funds. The chairperson is Mr. Zola Luswazi. You also have Mr. Edward Malumeja Tobejani, Ms. Martley Cater, Mr. Donald Kumalo, Ms. Laura Spech, Ms. Vuyiswa Mia, Mr. Tembinkosi Josopu, Ms. Tandiwe Mfulo, Dr. Hamilton Daluxolo Ntsinde, Mr. Takarani Musekwa, Ms. Brenda Sibeko, and Ms. Ohalaletse Hairekwi. And also Cabinet extended the term of office for the members of the South African Tourism Board for a period of 1 year. And the extended members are Mr. Siyabonga Dube, Chairperson, Advocate Mujankunyana Gumbi, Mr. Aloysius Ikalafeng, Mr. Tebe Ikalafeng, Mr. Evan Dimni, Miss Michelle Constant, Mr. Ravinaderson, Miss Kathleen Elizabeth Rivet Kanak, Miss Lindy Wesangweni Sido, Mr. Mduduzi Zwake, Mr. Zola Badas Chefu, Miss Gloria Sirobe, and Miss Nomzamo Bengo. Cabinet also approved the appointment of the Board of Directors of the National Nuclear Regulator, who are Ms. Vuyiswa Mia, Mr. Alan Taylor, Mr. Peter Baker, and Ms. Kangela Baloyi. Cabinet also approved the appointment of members of the Council of the Film and Publication Board. Chairperson is Ms. Zamantunga Nkosi, Dr. Siyasanga Klangabeza Chali, Ms. Lungelo Nkele, my pronunciation, you'll have to pardon me, Ms. Aglumachi Pillay, Mr. Posa Mashangwane, Ms. Gloria Zanele Nkosi, Ms. Mposi Dibe, Dr. Andy Lenonso, and Advocate Rufuno Tokyo Nevonde. Cabinet also approved the appointment of the Board of Trustees of the Independent Development Trust, who are Ms. Debuho Mahohodi Malaka, Mr. Christian Skudev, Ms. Lirato Kumalo, Ms. Karabo Siila, Ms. Ntabise Mkwanazi, Professor Raymond Nkando, Mr. Mpilo Sakile Mambisa, Mr. Zimbini Hill, Mr. Tim Sukazi, and Dr. Michael Sutcliffe. Cabinet approved the appointment of Chief Delegate and Alternate Delegate of the Lesotho Highland Water Commission, who are Mr. Teboho Nkatle, and the alternative being Dr. Musa Furumele. Cabinet also approved the appointment of Ms. Tembelihle Mbata as Chief Financial Officer of the Community Schemes Ombud Service at the Department of Human Settlements, Water and Sanitation. Also approved the appointment of Ms. Nonhlanhla Nyeule as CFO of Centec, and also approved the appointment of Ms. Shonisani Matthews Munjezi as the Chief Executive Officer of the South African National Biodiversity Institute, and also approved the appointment of Ms. Nondomiso Mandisa Shkwantamba as Deputy Director General Corporate Services at the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, and approved the appointment of Ms. Constance Muitse as DDG Counter Corruption and Security Services at the Department of Home Affairs. Also approved the appointment of Dr. Nicholas Gilmore Crisp as DDG National Health Insurance at the Department of Health, and also approved the appointment of Mr. Alan Golden Zimbia as the DDG Technical Support at the Municipal Infrastructure Support Agents at the Department of COCTA, and finally approved the appointment of Mr. Lindo Kuhle Cedric Mukumane as the Director General of the Department of Small Business Development. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. We will entertain questions online and also the site. Let me start with you, Chair. Hi.
Minister, I just want to ask if you can perhaps clarify with regards to the Sisonke trial, if there was any clarity on when that will resume. Has government made a decision on that, given the fact that we are also expecting more J&J vaccines this week? And then also with regards to Mozambique, you've mentioned here that some South Africans have come back to South Africa from Mozambique. Are you able to clarify how many and how many are still stuck in Mozambique? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. The first two questions are covered by Heidi's question. The only remaining one is which states that in countries like the United States, the vaccine adverse event reporting system is used to access live stats on vaccine side effects. How do South Africans and the media access such data for South Africa? And the other two questions are related to what? How do you ask?
In Cape Town, there's no one with questions? There's no one, Minister. Okay, I think you were very clear. Only one.
Thank you for the questions. In terms of the Sisonke vaccine commencement, the Department of Health will announce the commencement, because when they suspended, they had to take other measures. But because there is a recommendation that it must be commenced, the recommencement will be announced by the minister. But we are aware we are receiving a dose. In fact, we are receiving a dose of 1 million vaccines, I think by Monday latest, of J&J from our plant here in Gqeberha in the Eastern Cape, and so we are happy that we are amongst the first to receive those vaccines, and it shows our commitment to develop and implement. But the rollout will commence, the re-implementation will commence as soon as the Department of is ready with all the systems. And related to that is the question of how do we access the data on the side effects that are done. When the Department of Health issues the reports every day about the vaccination numbers, they also give an update in those reports of whether there have been any side effects that have been detected. So that information is part of the daily reports that are provided by the Department of Health. If there's a need to improve the visibility of that component of the report, it will be done, and that's the reason the Norfolk compensation scheme comes into effect, so that we can also trace if there are also the side effects that needs to be managed specifically. But we recommit and reassure South Africans that the data that is around the vaccination and the tracing of those who have been vaccinated within the 24 hours is done, and that data is kept for record keeping, but also for further analysis by our scientists. On the question of how many South Africans have been repatriated and how many are stuck in Mozambique, we must indicate that nobody is stuck in Mozambique. Those who have remained in Mozambique have remained out of their own choices, and because they are employed in Mozambique and they have arrangement with their own employers. Those who have wished to be repatriated into the country, they were repatriated. I don't have statistics at hand. If you recall, in the last cabinet briefing, we indicated the numbers that we have brought back, including the last remains of the South African who was killed and his full family that were departed, who were there to receive him, but who were also in Mozambique. Our defense forces had been supporting DECO to make sure South Africans who need repatriation into the country are brought safely back into the country. The last question is on what?
No, I think you covered all of them.
So thank you for those questions.
We normally allow 2 rounds, but if there are no questions, I think we are quite happy to adjourn. Are there any other questions? Nothing. I think, Minister, you have done your job. You have briefed the nation, and I think we can thank you, and we adjourn.